Hello, my friends. I have a very inspiring portfolio website to share with you today. It's by Wendy Van Norden, and Wendy went from first joining the bootcamp to becoming a full-time instructional designer in only 3 months, and this portfolio played a big role in making that happen. So there are also some great takeaways that you'll be able to apply to your own portfolio and your own projects. So let's dive into it. So here we are on Wendy's homepage. We can tell immediately it's very professionally done, very nice layout, and it's very bright. And that is a very common theme on Wendy's site. So notice we are using the yellow here, the yellow button. We have the yellow in Wendy's shirt. And this is a theme. So it's like branded as this bright, illuminating kind of brand. And that's something you want to think about when you're building your website is what is your personal brand? What words do you want associated with that brand? And we can see even in this value proposition, Wendy ties her branding into it very well. So I create illuminating learning experiences that bring bright ideas to life. So illuminating, bright. We have the yellow, which is very bright and illuminating, and the logo is a light bulb. So we're going to see this theme throughout, but if you can build your branding or your messaging, both visual messaging and text messaging around a theme or a concept like this, it's going to be very effective and it's really going to stand out compared to maybe a more generic portfolio website. So very well done here, very cohesive. And a nice animated button. It really makes me want to click this button. And notice when we highlight over the button, it gets even more bright and illuminated, and it seems to match the color in Wendy's shirt. So very energetic site here. So if we click on the Get to Know Me page, we can learn more about Wendy and what Wendy is looking for. Wendy did land a great remote or hybrid role, but Wendy is also open to freelance and consulting projects, and she's starting to explore those opportunities. So if you are looking for a learning designer, I think Wendy would be a great person to reach out to. And then we have this strong call to action to view Wendy's portfolio. And that brings us back to the homepage. And Wendy also has a background in STEM and STEM education. So Wendy did a really good job incorporating some images to highlight that, and that she's like a problem solver, a thinker, a doer. And then of course we've seen this on other portfolio sites, but it can work really well if you incorporate some photos from your hobbies or your personal life, just so that people can learn more about you as a person, not just as an instructional designer. So I think Wendy chose some great pictures here to showcase her love of the outdoors and some good photography and some other stuff that's important to Wendy. So when we scroll all the way down, I really love this footer. I mean, again, we're using this bright, illuminated, animated logo. So subtle but strong use of animation on the site. Really energetic, really makes me want to kind of stay on the site. And here we can contact Wendy. It's inconsistent with the other button, like it doesn't highlight that brighter yellow, but it looks like that's because this is already that brighter yellow. And this is still a very energetic and vibrant hover color when we hover over this contact me button. So very well done here. Before we go to that contact page, we are going to view the portfolio, which just kicks us back to the home page. And Wendy did something interesting with her projects. So Wendy hit the ground running immediately with the scenario-based flagship project in the bootcamp. So if we look at this, let's dive over to it. Wendy got off to a great start. Wendy has a really strong concept. It is a scenario-based project. We have the whole process right up so we can learn more about Wendy's process. And notice Wendy's going to highlight her progress throughout this project. So we can see the style guide. We can see the action map that Wendy created and that strong business goal in the center. We can see a sample from the text-based storyboard so that we know Wendy has experience with storyboarding, even visual mock-ups. So then from there, Wendy mentions the interactive prototype, but notice we don't have a link to experience the full project. So while Wendy was still developing this full project, Wendy landed her role, and again, that may be closer to finished or it may be finished now. But notice you can highlight progress from your project without linking to the full experience. So some people who are on a more abbreviated timeline choose to do this, and you can get a lot of attention in the market with a halfway finished project, so to speak, as long as you can speak to the business case, you can show all the deliverables you created up to that point. I mean, it's a way to kind of show your expertise as you're building that expertise, even if you haven't made the final product ready for viewing. So keep in mind that is an option both for personal projects and client projects. As long as you can show the problem it's solving and even show some mock-ups from that project, it will get you it will go a very long way. So Wendy also featured this gamified e-learning project. It's more of an app format, and this is a finished project that we can experience. So something that Wendy did really well and that I think is really smart is Wendy had her eyes set on Amazon Web Services. And she probably would have landed a role there if she didn't get an offer she couldn't refuse 3 months into this experience. I think Wendy might have expected it to take a bit longer, but Wendy was setting herself up really nice to land a role at her top choice company. And the way she did that is by really immersing herself in the content of that company and then creating deliverables based on the content of that company. So if you have a top choice company in mind, this is a very good approach to follow. So notice this project, it's about how well can you secure your AWS resources. So this shows Wendy is immersed in AWS content, AWS offerings, and she turned it into a gamified e-learning experience. So once again, Wendy shows the process. Remember, this is 50% of your portfolio project. You want to show the process. You want to walk through your design process, your decisions that you made, and just show, hey, I'm actually the one doing this work. Like, I'm here in Storyline, I'm doing this development, and then you can experience the project for yourself. I'll leave that all to you because I don't want to dive too deep into it, but it is a nice storyline quiz experience. So check it out. It's not too complex to develop, but it is well done. And then notice also Wendy is tracking everything with XAPI and JavaScript. Something else Wendy does really well here is shows that she's not afraid of technical content or technical material. She's diving into the concept, diving into XAPI, highlighting her STEM background. And I think that would do really well, especially if you want to design learning experiences for engineers or people in technical settings. So if you have something like that from your past that you want to highlight, there are definitely ways to do that. And just generally speaking, showing off XAPI and JavaScript skills, if you're interested in advanced e-learning development, that can really set you apart when applying to roles as well. Okay, and notice every page on Wendy's site, when we get to the bottom of the page, Wendy is guiding us somewhere else. Wendy is guiding us into another project, or guiding us onto a contact page. So I've mentioned this in other portfolio reviews, but keep in mind that it's always an option. I mean, it's you don't want people to get to the bottom of your page and have nowhere to go. So make sure you're sending them somewhere intentional when they do get to the bottom. But I'm going to go to this first project now. This is one that Wendy did for a real client, for a local business or firm that she was working with. And she made it anonymous just to protect the privacy of the company. It's a relatively simple tab interaction, but Wendy made a good use for the business case. Wendy does let you experience it for yourself and see, okay, yes, she can, develop final products in Storyline. Wendy is capable with Storyline. And then Wendy also mentions how she made the branding of this project match the branding of her client's website. So showing that she has that eye for design and branding. So there you have it. Those are the projects. Check them out on your own time. They are very well done. But notice too the subtle animations as we're even scrolling down the page. This is not a requirement, but it is a nice effect. We have the social proof. Of course, I always recommend having social proof on your website. When I added this to my website, it made a very big difference in the clients that were coming my way. So if you have people that you can reach out to for testimonials or social proof, past coworkers, peers, supervisors, then it's definitely a good idea to do so. And here's something else that we don't see on many of these portfolio reviews, but that also can go a very long way. Wendy has a blog here. And it shows that, okay, you're working towards becoming a thought leader in the field. You are engaging with the content in the field, and you're trying to add value to others, both practitioners and maybe decision makers in the field. So look at this, how to get employee buy-in for L&D initiatives. So Wendy wrote this up and did a thought piece on this with some actionable steps. So that's well done. And then also Wendy participated in this Cloud Practitioner Essentials Day, which is an AWS event. So once again, Wendy's showing I'm immersed in this AWS content and I'm going to write a review about what my experience was like. on this Cloud Practitioner Essentials Day. So notice, not a super intense blog post, but it's just showing, especially if you're an AWS recruiter or hiring manager looking at this site, you're going to realize, okay, this person is very serious about working with us. Other people who might not have content like this probably aren't going to stand as much of a chance, especially, even if their portfolio is as good, these pieces are going to differentiate Wendy much more. And again, Wendy got an offer she couldn't refuse, so she didn't wind up working at AWS, but I'm sure, who knows where Wendy's future will take her. I think Wendy has a really strong skill set that will add value to any team, so she's going to have a lot of options available to her if she ever decides to take them. But I know she's really happy with her team at the moment. So, and then we can see here on the contact page, fairly straightforward, nice way to incorporate this like pink violet color for the hyperlinks. Simple form, nice imagery to make it, and notice too, the imagery, it's like kind of her head is tilted back towards the form. So that's a really nice touch as well. And then if we do decide we don't want to send the message, or we do send our message, then we also have the option to go back into the portfolio. So we're never leaving people with nothing to do once they get to the bottom of the page. I noticed Wendy here in the footer probably wants to update that to 2023 since that's the year we're in now. But I know that can be easy to forget. And then we have some other links at the bottom. We can go to the blog page. We also have an easy link to Wendy's LinkedIn so we can learn more about her experience. And I highly recommend you do check out Wendy's LinkedIn if you are newer to the field or you are newer to LinkedIn, because Wendy did a very good job building out her LinkedIn profile, which I think helps a lot with the types of opportunities that come her way. So that is Wendy's portfolio site. Feel free to check it out for yourself. And I'm going to turn it over to Wendy so that you can learn more about her experience building this site and working with us in the bootcamp.
Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Van Norden. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about my experience with Devlin and his bootcamp. I started in September 2022, and I had been at the same private school for about 7 years. I had a good experience. I was there as a kind of technical curriculum developer and a mentor teacher, lots of technology, which I love, but I was ready for a different challenge. So I was aiming for a corporate role in instructional design, and I really did not know how to transition from K-12 to like a corporate role. So I was feeling excited, but pretty lost. And so I looked around and I found Devlin's Bootcamp. After a lot of kind of back and forth, wondering if it was the right investment for me, I decided that I would probably get the money back in the end because it would expedite my learning with like the e-learning skills, which that did happen. It would also put me in a network of people where I could, build relationships and grow in that way, which actually ended up being really incredible. And I also just learned a lot about what I brought to the table that I probably didn't appreciate until I did the bootcamp. So I want to tell you a little bit more about what that looked like. So when I started the bootcamp, the first thing I remember this very clearly, I didn't really know what to expect in terms of the courses. But when I signed in, I was pleasantly surprised. I knew that it was really high quality, the way that the courses are broken down, the way that things are explained. I've taught like technical curriculum for a long time, either like teaching software, like how to make, a Google site, things like that. And so the way that it was broken down into manageable chunks with like assessments built in, I thought it was really well done. So I knew right away that it was the right choice. At least I knew that the content itself was going to be very helpful. Once I started getting to know people in the community and getting help from the Bootcamp pros, I realized that my investment was even better than I thought. Especially, I suggest if you were to do this, go to the weekly workshops, even if you don't have anything. I went from like the first day, even though I'm like, I don't have anything to do. I just signed up. But I would always walk away with like a couple nuggets of like wisdom that I could apply to my portfolio or my LinkedIn page. So I was just like absorbing lots and lots of good information. And I think that helped me expedite my process. I found a new role within a few months, which was really awesome. And I think it really helped that I had this kind of inside scoop That's how I feel. What also I really enjoyed, I had a team of about 5 people, and we're still friends. It's been a few months since I got the job, but we're still friends and support each other. As I was going through their interview process and applying to jobs, they were giving me awesome feedback. And the Bootcamp pros were cheering me on, and it was a really good feeling. Whereas a couple months before that, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. Like, I started hearing from recruiters just a couple months into the process. And I remember I didn't even finish my portfolio yet, but I'm like, I heard from 2 people, like I need to kind of finish it up so it looks good enough so I can apply to this job. And what was cool, like my portfolio actually isn't done yet, but it was really a nice way to present myself to hiring managers so they could see that I hold myself to high standards and high quality work. I'm a decent writer, things like that. So the portfolio and the feedback I got during the workshops from the Bootcamp pros and from Devlin, I feel like that was a huge advantage to me. So I'm really grateful for that. So in summary, I know I've shared a lot, but what I got out of the Bootcamp mostly was increased confidence. I also got a lot of skills with e-learning development, build a network of friends who I'm still leaning on and they're leaning on me. I helped a couple of people. I connected to a recruiter that I met in the fall, and they've gotten jobs that way. So just like the sense of community was a really impressive part of it. I also think that I was able to ask for a higher salary than I would have otherwise, because one of the Bootcamp pros was very, very open with me about, her earning, what she's making. And so I felt confident asking for more. So that was also a reason that, although I don't think everybody needs to invest in a program like this, for me personally, it definitely has paid me back beyond what I expected. So in the end, for me, it was a great investment. But thanks for listening. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions, or if you have any questions about my portfolio website. Thanks.
So there we have it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to learn more about the Instructional Design Bootcamp, you can go to idbootcamp.com or select the link in the description, and we will see you in there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.